Finally, let's address one more widely held belief: the idea that people in the Middle Ages thought the earth was flat. Flat. Wow. I don't know how hard it's going to be this for all the flat earthers here in the United States. This misconception persists even today, likely because it aligns with the image of the Middle Ages as a time of ignorance and superstition. The flat earth myth is often linked to the portrayal of prejudiced monks rejecting scientific truth and is commonly associated with the struggles Galileo faced when he proposed that the earth moves. This stereotype has deeply embedded itself in popular culture, even though it doesn't reflect the reality of medieval knowledge. Let me give you an example. In the classic Disney animated movie, The Sword and the Stone, I think it was made in the 1969 or 70. I don't know, must be even more recent. The Sword and the Stone. Merlin, the wise wizard who travels through time, instructs his disciple, young Ward, the future King Arthur. At one point, Merlin returns from a trip to the future, sporting Bermuda shorts and sunglasses, having just visited Malibu Beach. One of the things Merlin teaches Ward is that ignorant medieval world is what ignorant that medieval world is and discover. And he says, one day David will discover that the earth is round. This seems plain to the stereotype of the Middle Ages as a time when people believed the earth was flat, and that it took modern wisdom to correct this misconception. However, this portrayal is far from accurate. In reality, knowledge of the Earth's spherical shape dates back to the Greeks, as early as the 4th century BC. Greek scholars, followed by the Romans, understood that the Earth was round. Figures like Ptolemy developed astronomical systems that clearly described the planets and Earth as spherical. And this knowledge persisted in textbooks for centuries. The idea that medieval people believed that Earth was flat is a myth, yet it remains popular in modern culture because it fits neatly with the image of the dark and ignorant Middle Ages. In the Middle Ages, the notion that the Earth was flat simply did not exist. Medieval scholars and theologians, when discussing the realms of living and afterlife, structures these discussions around the belief in a spherical Earth. For example, depictions of paradise as being above and hell as below mirror the understanding of a round Earth. And just as we see many religious texts, if the Earth were flat, how could they imagine hell located beneath the Earth? This belief in a round Earth shaped even theological debates and cosmological concepts of the time. One striking example from the 15th century comes from the famous Florentine astronomer and cartographer Paolo Toscanelli, who suggested to Christopher Columbus, "Why don't you sail west to reach the Indies? I'll make you a map because the Earth is round." Toscanelli's letter reflects a basic understanding among educated people of that time that the Earth was spherical. The widespread myth that people believed in a flat Earth during the Middle Ages largely stems from the 19th century historian Washington Irving. In 1828, in his 1828 biography of Columbus, Irving incorrectly describes an era of ignorance, claiming that most people thought the Earth was flat until Columbus set out to prove otherwise. This myth, though historically inaccurate, has been perpetuated in popular culture ever since. Even in places like New York, it's challenging to dispel persistent myths. In his biography, A History of the Life and Voyages of Christopher Columbus, Washington Irving presents the Middle Ages as a period of ignorance and superstition. He contrasts this with the Renaissance, which he views as a time of enlightenment and progress. So Irving's portrayal reflects a common perspective of his time, which tended to romanticize the Renaissance while characterizing the Middle Ages as dark and a backward era. In Irving's biography of Christopher Columbus, he depicted Columbus as fighting against the superstitions of his contemporaries, reinforcing the legend of the ignorant Middle Ages. This myth, particularly the idea that people in the Middle Ages thought the earth was flat, had endured over time. And here we are, working to free the Middle Ages from such misconceptions. It's well documented that medieval scholars never doubted the earth's roundness. They considered it self-evident. If you're still skeptical, there's visual proof in countless medieval depictions of emperors, whether it's Charlemagne, Frederick Barbarossa, or a Byzantine emperor. They are often portrayed holding a globe in their right hand as a symbol of their Christian Roman Empire's divine right to rule the world. Sometimes there's even a cross on top of the globe, symbolizing the spread of Christianity across the entire spherical world. This imagery along debunks the flat earth myth, but we also find references of the earth's shape in medieval treatises and astronomy, proving that this was common knowledge among the educated. The idea of a flat earth is nothing more than a modern invention, created and perpetuated to falsely characterize the Middle Ages as an era of ignorance. The earth, the sky, the sun, the stars, and even comets have long been subjects of interest, even during what are often called the darkest centuries. After the barbarian invasions, when knowledge and technology were indeed in decline. Yet, even in such times, figures like the 8th century English monk Bede, B-E-D-E, emerged. His work, De Natura Rerum, on the nature of things, Bede wrote, "We call the earth a globe, not because there are no irregularities or plains and mountains, but because if we consider the whole, the circumference of the earth represents a perfect and round globe." This demonstrates that even in the so-called Dark Ages, scholars had a sophisticated understanding of the earth's shape. From this perspective, the monk brings a subtle language issue. Today, we take for granted the idea that the earth is round, but this word can be problematic, as something round can still be flat, like a pizza, for example. But there's an old comic strip that humorously touches on this, The Wizard of Oz. This wizard says that with the evil king, he says, "The earth is round, and it's also flat. I call it the pizza theory." While humorous, the comic pokes at the real challenge of explaining that round doesn't always mean spherical. So the monk Bede clarified this well, writing, "The earth is round, not like a shield, but like a ball." Medieval scholars went to great lengths to make this clear to a broader, less educated population, and they often used relatable metaphors and visual images, such as comparing the earth to a ball, or even as a fly walking on the surface of an apple, to help people understand the concept of a spherical earth. These efforts reflected the medieval endeavor to bridge complex ideas with everyday experiences to make learning accessible, even in times of great social and intellectual upheaval. The issue of whether people could live down on the side of the earth and at the antipodes, those with their feet directly opposite of ours, was indeed a perplexing one, not just in the Middle Ages, but also in antiquity. Even though scholars like Pliny the Elder, and medieval thinkers explained that people on the opposite side wouldn't fall because gravity works the same for everyone. The common folk found this hard to accept. It was a clash between the learned and the less informed. How could someone down there not fall? That was the concept of the time. In medieval Europe, this idea continued to provoke curiosity and skepticism among the general population. Pliny the Elder had already addressed this clash in his writings, explaining that while common folk thought people on the other side would fall, scholars believed otherwise. He even humorously noted that those below might wonder why we don't fall off the earth. Despite these debates, the scholarly understanding of the Earth's shape continued to advance. By the year 1200, a key treatise on astronomy titled Tractatus de Sphera, treatise on the sphere. Tractatus de Sphera. It's written in Latin. This became the standard textbook in medieval universities across Europe. This work explained the Earth's spherical nature and the structure of the universe. It served as a foundational text for the study of geography long before the time of Columbus, offering a clear explanation on the Earth's shape and the workings of the cosmos. Far from being rejected by the Church, such works were incorporated into the curriculum at universities founded under church authority. Now, theologians of the era, including the well-known St. Thomas Aquinas, engaged deeply with these concepts. In his monumental work, Summa Theologica, Aquinas began by reflecting on the nature of truth and how various sciences and disciplines approach it. He maintained that there was no fundamental conflict between faith and reason, or between theology and science. Aquinas believed that all truth, whether revealed or discovered through natural observation, formed a cohesive reality. This rational framework, embraced by thinkers like Aquinas, helped medieval scholars reconcile scientific discoveries with theological beliefs. And it also challenged the misconception that the Church suppressed scientific knowledge. On the contrary, during this time, the Church facilitated learning and the belief in a rational, ordered universe guided by both faith and reason, and being central to the medieval intellectual life. St. Thomas Aquinas, in his great work, Summa Theologica, makes an insightful distinction about how different disciplines arrive at truth through their own methods. Might this be the birth of the scientific method from Aquinas' point of view? I think so, yes. So he uses the roundness of the earth as a simple, obvious truth to illustrate this. For instance, an astronomer might prove that the earth is round by studying the motion of celestial bodies, while a physicist could demonstrate this by analyzing the refraction of light and other physical phenomena. This shows that even in the 13th century, the concept of a spherical earth was so well established that Aquinas used it as an uncontroversial example of shared knowledge, and highlighting that, contrary to popular misconceptions, medieval scholars widely accepted and understood the earth's roundness. Now, fast forward to the time of Columbus, and this knowledge remained uncontested. Columbus, when he approached Queen Isabella of Spain, wasn't pitching the idea of discovering a new world or proving the earth was round. Instead, he proposed an alternative route to the Indies, which were known for their valuable spice trade. The Portuguese had already reached the Indies, navigating around Africa, but Columbus believed he could find a faster path by sailing westward. So based on the well-known fact that the earth is round, he confidently claimed by heading west, he could eventually land in Japan, and thus establish a new trade route that would allow Spain to bypass Portuguese dominance. The Queen, intrigued by the potential to outsmart the Portuguese, was on board with the idea in theory. However, before committing resources, she appointed a commission to evaluate Columbus' plans. The commission didn't question the Earth's shape, as some later myths might suggest. Everyone knew it was round. Instead, they debated the logistics of Columbus' calculations, particularly whether the distance he had estimated was feasible given the limits of the ship's waters and supply that they could carry. Columbus, assured, by his figures, convinced them to give him a chance, so leading to his famous voyage in 1492. What we learn from this is that the roundness of the earth was never an issue. The real debate was about the size of the Earth and whether Columbus' journey was practical. The myth that Columbus set out to prove the Earth was round is just that, a myth, largely perpetuated by later historians. Instead, the real story is about the navigation, the trade, and the bold risk that Columbus took, not to discover new lands, but to find a new way to the riches of the East. The commission appointed by Queen Isabella to evaluate Columbus' proposal overestimated the distance to Asia by a significant margin. While Columbus claimed it was about 2,400 miles, the commission estimated around 18,000 miles and was much, much higher. The actual distance from the Canary Islands to Asia is about 10,000 miles across the Pacific Ocean. But the commission did not account for the existence of the America. I don't think that was the Pacific Ocean. I assume it was through the Atlantic if they were going westward or eastward. Either way, I think it was westward. So the commission did not account for the existence of the Americas, which Columbus would encounter instead. Their overestimation reflected the limited geographical knowledge of the time and contributed to the skepticism about Columbus' plans. Now, given these discrepancies, we can tell with humor that nobody can accuse Columbus of being a great navigator. That's always what I like to say. But he's been a great man, a pioneer, I think, of his time. Columbus' miscalculations didn't change the outcome of his journey, which was one of the most pivotal moments in world history. His belief was that he would reach the Indies by sailing west was based on an underestimate of the Earth's circumference and an overestimation of Asia's size. So when he bumped into the Americas, he thought he had reached Asia, but in reality, he had stumbled upon an entirely new world that was unknown to Europeans. This mix of error and discovery highlights a deeper truth. Human exploration, whether geographical or intellectual, is often driven by wonder, curiosity, and a desire to challenge the boundaries of known knowledge. The sense of wonder, especially in the context of exploration and discovery, is deeply connected to humanity's enduring questions. Who are we? Where do we come from? Where are we going? These are not just philosophical musings, but they're very questions that drive scientific inquiry and exploration throughout history, from the Middle Ages to today. The quest for knowledge, for understanding the world around us, and for uncovering truths about the existent has been a consistent feature of human civilization. In the Middle Ages, this quest was shaped by both religious and scientific frameworks. Medieval scholars, despite being bound by certain theological constraints, were deeply engaged in these existential inquiries. They used knowledge passed down from the antiquity and built upon it on the natural world, theology, and philosophy. As we've seen, their understanding of concepts like the earth roundness, the structure of the cosmos, and the nature of reality was far more advanced than popular myths suggest. In this way, the Middle Ages were not a period of ignorance or superstition, but rather a time when humanity was actively grappling with the big questions of existence, questions that still inspire wonder and drive exploration today, whether through Columbus' voyages or the intellectual endeavors of medieval scholars. The pursuit of truth and meaning remains a constant thread in human history.